Welcome to the Afropolitan Podcast. This is the first ever episode. But before we get in, let's do a quick introduction about what the Afropolitan Podcast is about. I think this is going to be a favorite quote of us moving forward. By the way, I'm your lovely host, Eche. I have with me today M.I Abaga.
Yes, sir.
But before we get into to M.I Abaga's history, present, and future, let's really talk about what we're here to achieve. One of the favorite quotes we're going to be using for all the episodes goes like this: because the brand new is unthinkable, we fight over the old. So what does it mean to be an Afropolitan? Afropolitan is a community for members of the global audience who straddle two or more distinct cultures, identities, languages, sets of friends, and level of awareness. It is above all a mindset. We are building the future of a progressive Black community. So, without further ado, I just came out from France, so maybe they give them a small French. I'd like to introduce our first ever guest for this episode, Mr. M.I Abaga.
Yes, sir. I'm proud to be here. I'm very honored that you asked me to be the first person. And Eche is the hustler of the year, you know what I mean, of the last 2 years self. So, yeah, it's a pleasure, man. Thank you for having me.
No, bro, when I was thinking about doing this podcast, I wanted to first of all do it with somebody that I felt like we could have a conversation. You know, sometimes when you ask a favor, it's like, okay, prepared notes. Yeah. I feel like me and you have talked, and every time there's still so much going on because we're so busy people. Yeah. But every time we talk, I'm like, yo, I can talk to you for. I'm like, we could talk for days. Like somebody literally has to walk in and stop this from going on, you know? So thank you again for coming through.
Absolutely.
What I want to accomplish with this interview is I don't think we have so much long form content and conversation similar to like the Breakfast Club, but also similar to like the Joe Budden podcast, right? Where we talk, we understand the mindsets, how you see the world, what your worldview is, and what's the ideal world for people to really tap into, you know? So I think what I want to start off with first is the journey, where it started from.
Yeah, man. There's so many levels to that journey, right? Yeah. So I always like to say my dad is the first person that from my small village, a village called Perry. He's the first person that I think went to primary school. And he tells me the story of how he would walk from a place called Lufu, from Perry to a place called Lufu, and it was like I don't want to get it wrong, maybe like 16 miles or something like that. So it's a pretty long walk that he would have to walk every day to go to school and back. And I'm now the first person from, again, my village and maybe both villages to get the opportunity to school abroad when I went to. So there's that context. Then there's also the journey about me growing up in Jos, you know, and just growing up as a kid in a church called Plateau Church, young kid, loved music. I saw there's a guy called Panam Percival. He's like a gospel legend in Nigeria. And he was the first of his kind. And I'm sitting down watching this guy and just being like, this guy's so amazing. I want to, make music one day like him.
But as a kid, when you imagine what you wanted to be when you grew up, what was it?
It was never music. It was, I want to do something. You know, when you go to school, and like if you're a bright person and you went through the Nigerian school system, they always like, you should be an engineer, a doctor.
Something, yeah.
I knew I didn't like blood, but I wanted to do, I think I signed up for engineering, and then I got something called quantity survey in
quantitative surveying, yeah.
And then, I wanted to be an architect. So when I went to Calvin, I applied for, I think it was some engineering, I can't remember, architecture with business as a minor, and then sort of went and sat in the business space and spent more time there. And then through that process, my love for music. I mean, I'm one of those kids that should have never even done anything else. I should have just done music. I would have had the best grades of all time. You know, it's like my passion, the thing I love so much. But the Nigerian school system sort of funneled me towards like, hey, you're an intelligent kid, so you need to do these things.
Yeah, and, presets.
And so my journey leads me up through like just playing music with my younger brother Jesse and all that stuff till I get to Calvin, and
Calvin is in the US.
Yes, in the US, in Grand Rapids.
Michigan.
Yes,
Man.
And right as I'm entering my senior year, like everything just collapsed, right? So we didn't have enough money. The school was trying to crack down on some debt that students owed. And so I was like, let me do the right thing. I was going to come back to Nigeria, try and apply for some new student loans and go back. And when I came back, actually, I'd gotten this, the not loans, scholarships. I'd gotten the scholarships, but while I was applying for the scholarships, I'd been out of status.
Okay, so you had to come back.
So they're like, oh, come back and do it. When I came back, the visa lady was like, well, just one small thing. No, I'm not going to give you. Come back in 3 months. That's how, up to today, your boy has been in Nigeria. But
man,
as life would have it, then I'm now thrust into doing the thing. Just to acknowledge the fact that I started coughing. And so when the people see the cut, they'll see bottles of water. Yeah, but I was talking about being in the States and everything collapsing and moving back to Nigeria. And then I had a job for like 15,000 naira a month, something like that. I was like working, because the thing about the States is that the States, it gives you that work culture.
Yeah.
So when I came back, I didn't need to work.
Yeah.
But I was like, I do want to get a job.
Yeah.
So there was an internet cafe that was coming up. It was like the cool spot. So I went there, I got a job. I would just sit there and work and then use the internet to keep up with what's going on. Online, and my younger brother, Jesse, had a few friends and they'd been recording in a small studio called Skynet. Skynet is really important in the history of Just because that's where P Square recorded their first album.
Okay. Because P Square, they used to live in Jos.
They live in Jos, yeah. So I go over to the studio. I see, I think it was Peter that was there one day. He was wearing like a fur, because Jos can get cold. He was wearing like a fur thing with like blue Timbs, just looking fresh. And at the time, you know, and so I record like a little song here and there, just stuff. We'll go perform in churches. And then one day I'm talking to another friend of mine, Jeremiah Gang, who was blowing up in the country at the time. I don't know if anyone will remember the song Nabaka, but so Jeremiah and I had known each other from birth, right? From when you can know someone, right? He started blowing up and he told me he'd gotten paid for a show 250K. And my salary at this time was maybe like 40K.
Oh, 40K.
So I'd moved up in life. You know? But I remember telling my mom, I was like, yo, one night,
so what did you 250K?
The whole month, 40K. And she was like, well, okay, let's try and let's see what happens. And, it's a guy called Bola Adebisi. He was a pastor starting a small church. He had some studio equipment that was just gathering dust. So he let us at it. I opened it up, started working. Jesse was a better producer. So he was like the draw. So I was like the studio manager and he would be the producer. Started bringing in business, but then I also started learning production a little bit. We started making music for people. Gradually, we started making a small name for ourselves in Jos. And then every once in a while, the Mode 9 would come to Jos and stop by the studio. We did a deal for someone that gave me money to produce their CDs. So I flew to Lagos to do the production of the CDs. And while I was here, I started meeting, I would go to a show and I'd meet, take a picture of Rugged Man and go back and print it out and put it on our wall. So we had a wall Judy's doing it. You know what I mean? And then one time Jeremiah invited me for a show with him in Enugu. And when I got to Enugu, I met a guy called Genie. Genie, of course, has his famous song Ego. And Genie was like, yeah, come over to my house if you ever need a place to stay. And one day I just put my laptop in my bag, couple t-shirts, extra pair of jeans, deodorant, whatever, boxers. Got on the bus, arrived in Lagos.
How long is that trip from Jos?
Like 12 hours, 9 to 12 hours.
Okay.
So, terrible trip because the drivers, that's their life, right? They travel maybe every 6 nights a week, and they just play
It's a nighttime trip.
Nighttime trip. Yeah. You can do a daytime trip if you want to, but they'll just put music in, and a lot of times it's
same song,
long form Igbo gospel music.
Yeah.
So the Chairman album starts with one song called Monkey. Davide. So, and it's an ode to those trips, right?
I know, because that's what they used to play the whole time. But I remember.
Long form,
long. It's Jehovah Jireh.
You're listening to the whole song the whole way. And you'd be like, you have like three of them.
By the time you arrive, the Holy Ghost is on you.
Know what I mean? Yeah, and then one thing just led to another. So when I look back, I'm just very grateful. I know your question was about the origin, but I'm just very grateful because I realized that so many things could have gone wrong. I've been like a deer in headlights, like literally on the streets twice in Jos where a car almost hit me, right? And a split second could have changed things, and I'd have been roadkill, right? But here I am, having this conversation, having had like such an amazing career. I'm still in an amazing career and doing things I really love at my own pace. Like I'm very grateful.
One of the questions I wanted to ask is, what role do you think reinvention has played in your life? Like the evolution, reinvention. But that one is quickly deep. But what role?
That's a good
Because the reason why I'm asking this question is there are two artists from me who, when I listen to their music, I can see the reinvention the reinvention and then the evolution. You and Jay-Z.
Oh wow. Hey, heavy.
So that like
heavy.
For some reason, and it feels weird that I'm actually again to say this to you face to face. But it always felt like I could feel when you needed to elevate to the next level, and that the people who were in the bus stop with you to Agungi are not be able to stay with you to Ekpe.
Yeah.
But that you were always also like the smartest person in the room. So that whole burden of like, yo guys, we need to go to the promised land though. Well, guys think the promised land is VGC. And you're like, no, bro.
I headed further. Yeah. So profound, man. Yeah. What a question.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, that's rare air, right? To be put up with Jay-Z. But and I appreciate that. But I will say, I think you've touched on something that so I have an album called Study on Self that came out in 2017. And when I made it, I just had an experience with a friend who was like depressed. She wanted to kill herself, and I didn't understand depression. So I tried to study it just through conversation, and then I was like, oh wow, this is actually about identity. And as I learned more, I made this album a Study on Self. I get more comments about the album like last year, this year, than I did when it came out, right? And I think you and I, when we talk, we speak sometimes about like that lonely road. It's like you saying, I'm just going to get up and go to Lagos. I don't know why, but I'm going to go. And I think a lot of time, like maybe people that are listening to this are going to be parents or whatever. You may have that kid, that kid that's just like, hey, why don't we go down this? And it actually is something to nurture, because most times in the real world, people that are like that don't get validated until they succeed.
Yeah.
So what happens to all the people that never get to that success, right? Does that mean that search wasn't valuable? For me as an artist, my first album, Talk About It, was a journey that deviated from who I was before that. All of Nigeria loved it. But my core fan base were like, am I sold out? Talk About It is out. I'm doing well. I still have a challenge. And the challenge is that rap is still seen as like stubborn kids' music. So we don't get premium placement. So I'm like, I should make an album that uses like high life and like soft music themes, dance music, so that people would start to listen to rap in a different way. So here comes MI2, Africa rapper #1, action film, Undisputed Champion, If Nobody Talks About You,
classics
Manara,
all around.
Do you know what
classics.
I mean? Like Beef, Epic, all these songs.
Nobody,
all these porn projects.
Yeah.
And my hope is that your father will have African rapper number. Your mother will be like, where that one? And it succeeded. But the day it landed, Hip Hop Nigeria was like, yo, am I sold out?
Sold out, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So first the core fans, when you first started.
Right.
Ones who then came because of Talk About It.
Talk About It. Then you sold out, right? To MI2. Yeah. And then from MI2 up until, I think, Chairman, people were just like, what are you doing? Like, I legit had someone one day, an MC, who I respect, but I don't think should have been giving me advice. Like, I was advising me that day, like, yo, if you're scared, because all these young guys are rapping. I had never
scared
in my life.
I'm
Like
scared.
I'm quiet because I want Jesse and Ice Prince.
Yeah,
It's their time to eat.
it's the time to eat. Yeah,
You know what I mean? So, but people never understand. When I made like Rendezvous, like if you think about the alter movement right now, Odunsi, Tay, Tommy Thomas, Black Bones, CK's on that project. I think of all the other people apart from like the artists that are a little bit bigger, right? They're all on this project, right? That I made when no one knew. A lot of them were people. I mean, the young kids knew who Odunsi was at the time. Some kids knew, Tay was on the other project, Lady Donnelly was on the other project. But it's an intentional thing for me to get this apartment and sit with like 19-year-old kids, right?
Yeah.
And just be like, I want to listen, I want to learn. Like, hey, you make the beats. You tell me what I should do. You know what I mean? And let's make music that way. Again, Lonely Road. And then the project is a playlist, so it just runs through from track 1 to end, right? Now Nigerian music is and is generally consumed in playlists, right? But I think there's a sentence that I have that I remember. It's from a movie called it's in a movie called Love Jones, and one character says, Nia Long character says, the goal of the artist is to create the definitive work that cannot be surpassed. So it means that if you have an idea, your job is to do the most amazing work you can with it in a way that anyone else that wants to do it will be like, hey.
Yeah.
So if somebody tomorrow wants to start a movie like a platform, a community platform, they'll be like, hey, have you seen what HA did with Afropolitan?
That's the model. That's the goal. Let's go.
That's our journey, right? And as many times as you can, sometimes you'll get it done and your job is then to move on, not to sit and bask, to move on and do something else. And for those of us that are true artists, and I don't mean that in just a sense of like music, but talking with you as someone that would be in entertainment, then be like, oh, you know what? Let me see what's happening in this tech thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then do tech and be like, hey, you know what? Let me go build a community. You know what I mean? Yeah. Hey, let me see what's happening with Clubhouse. And let me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The people that love us, the people that are around us, have to understand that we are part of the human race.
Yeah.
Because the human race has a proclivity to stay together and stay in small places. But there have to be people that are like, I want to see what's across there.
What's the adventure?
You know what I mean?
Or what's the
and
evolution? We're here because of evolution. Absolutely. We had to evolve.
Absolutely.
So then let's talk about, I forget who I was talking to recently, right? I forget who I was talking to. I forget who I was talking to recently, and I was just giving them a personal anecdote that when we were kids, because now like a lot of my tech guys that I know are earning like 300K, 250K dollars, like US, whatever. That when we were kids, if you had told us, okay,
happy,
okay, like as far we didn't even used to dream too much, we didn't want much, right? So that what happens when like you just wake up one day and you're just looking in the mirror like, is this me? Am I like who's this guy? Who's this guy that I'm looking at right now? Right? Like, what was that shift like from one day you're M.I or you're Jude, you're Jude, you're walking down the streets, nobody's hailing you, blah blah blah. Next day it's like, yo, gee, you're that guy. And not only are you that guy, you're the number one guy.
Yeah. That's a crazy question, man. I'm loving these questions. So I hate doing interviews. But as soon as you called, I was like, this is gonna be fun. And I mean, anyway. So to answer your question,
these are not even prepared questions because this one is just flow. You know, because we're already having this discussion earlier and at the boat, the beach house.
What's crazy is that I walked in here for people that are watching. I walked in here and we've been talking for an hour and a half.
2 hours. 2 hours. Before it's been 2 hours already. 2 hours.
I think that the key for me was, like, I had an idea of what I wanted to be. And it comes back to that story of like 250K per show. And I'm like, I can make this. I can do it 4 times a weekend. I have $1 million naira. 1 million naira. I'm like, Mommy, do you know what $1 million naira is? Like, you know what I mean? I remember I got paid one time for something I did with the British Council. And was in pounds. So by the time I
Converted it
to Naira, it was 440.
God damn.
Yo, when I saw that amount in my account, like the next few times I was in the bank, I was looking down on everyone like, can you give me space? Like, is there a VIP line? Do I have to
give me space?
So when you get to the point where I remember the band said, everybody listen when I speak. I make 10 million in a week. And I remember I was like, cap. No way.
Cap.
And then the first week where I made 10 million, I'm like,
that man wasn't capping.
Yo.
That man was telling a few truths.
Yo. Like,
oh man.
It's a journey that I don't think anyone can be prepared for. And I think in music is a little bit more, it happens at breakneck speed because in other industries,
you see the gradual growth.
You have to increase your capacity, right?
Yeah.
And so there'll still be some change, but in music, it just
overnight.
Overnight. Like, how you go from Ayo to Whiskey like that, from Panshak to Ice Prince like that. I think the hard thing, maybe this is where, I don't know if I really answered, but I just spoke about what that experience was like. But I think the hard thing is realizing when you've passed the goals that you set initially, it's having the presence of self to set new goals, to go do something new. And to be comfortable to be a beginner in that new thing.
Exactly. Reinventing.
You know what I mean? Exactly.
What does it, because I like how you segue. What does it then look like? Because I've seen this happen to a lot of people too, whether it's in music or in other industries, fighting the need to become a caricature of yourself. And let me explain. Okay, let's say I'm Wizkid. People know me for this. It's all actually no. I know the artist that I want to bring because this is why I don't really listen to their music. No, you know. It's not even I'm an African artist.
Okay. Better.
The Weeknd.
Okay.
Weeknd, I think he released House of Balloons 2012-ish. I feel like I can remember because it was peak fuckboy itchy. Peak. Like I was like heavy. I mean, he released it.
Not high value itchy.
No, I know, not high value. Bro, not high value, not high value. Peak fuckboy itchy. I remember one of the songs was called Wicked Games or something like that. Beautiful song. I was like, yo, this artist is good. Back then there was, not that I've learned and I've grown those things, but back then there was a lot of like toxic type music that was fun. Them Drake and all of them are releasing it. Not that there's anything wrong. Everybody has their audience. But I was 22 when he released that album. Then I remember 28 years later, I'm listening to The Weeknd again. And it's the same theme of song about broken this, sad this, blah, 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 this. I'm like, bro, even me, that I'm not as rich as you, in that 7 years, I've grown, I've met a girl, maybe I'm not going to thank God, nobody pregnant or anything, but like there are people who have grown, babe, love, marriage, this, that, graduated. Some happiness has jammed me at some point. You cannot tell me that for the past 7 years, you've just been sad. Does that make sense? Like that's not the human experience. And so, it shouldn't be. So either, again, that is actually his experience, or you're now moving from a formulaic perspective. This is what your fans have said that they want. This is what the data says. Just keep on feeding them that. So again, I guess what my question is how do you struggle from, okay, there's a formula, and most human beings and most institutions like formulas because it's more predictable. But what do you do when, for example, you have to reinvent yourself from artist to executive to all the other inventions that you've had to do? What do you do when they're the people who are like, but why would you go there? People want you to stay here. This is your lane. Don't move to this other lane. Stay in your lane. What do you do in those situations?
Yeah, I mean, that's
because sometimes, like you said, it's a lonely road for you because it's you that has to tell yourself, I'm doing this with or without. You know what I mean? And the thing about reinvention is you have to prove yourself again. Like nobody's going to say, okay, M.I was the greatest artist, so because you're crossing that crossover, come and be the greatest executive. It doesn't work that way, right? So, yeah.
No, you're spitting facts, bro. Sometimes I think the good thing about the questions you're asking is that the questions themselves they have answers in them. They're questions that there's no right answer, right? It's about reflecting. I mean, everyone that's listening can reflect.
Yeah.
So the truth about it is that from an artist's perspective, sometimes an artist gets trapped in a moment in time.
Yeah.
And I know artists that are trapped in a moment in time. 2 years ago, no, last year actually, I looked around. I gathered all my awards. I have like 60 something awards. Gathered all of them, like the ones I really love. My Mama award, like you know what I mean. Gathered them, put them in boxes, put them away. I don't want to see them anymore.
Yeah.
I came down, looked at all my furniture, just started giving it away. Stripped everything off, and then went to the art market and just bought like wooden chairs. Yeah. Put in my house. You know what I'm saying?
Ones that I've complimented you on.
I just want space.
Yeah.
I just want. Yeah. I don't want to see anything that reminds me of who I was. I want to look forward.
Yeah.
And I think that I maybe have been lucky by how I was brought up, by my expectations for myself, by the fact that when I get to a certain point, I realize that, hey, I have capacity to go further. But I know a lot of people that are fighting to capture
that moment. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And years have passed just trying to recapture that moment.
Yeah, there's a friend of mine who told me recently, he hears this, but he told me recently, like it's funny because he made me think, right? So I don't know what's happening. Either he's getting bald or something, but he was always wearing hats because of it. And I didn't know until I met him. He's like, yo, I always got to wear a hat, like at every point in time because my hair is. And I just thought about the fact that I was like, I imagine myself getting bald, but not being able to actually get bald publicly. Do you know what I mean? Like this real thing is happening to me, but because of how I want to be perceived or whatever, I can't actually let this real thing happen to me. And I have empathy, I guess, for both sides because everyone is living the life and has the tools that they have. But I think again it comes back to this idea of like people that know better should do better. Right?
Yeah.
So there are going to be people in the group that are going to be like, I don't want to move. I want to stay by this human group. Back to this analogy of us, like, I want to stay by the mango tree. We have mangoes. We have a little bit of corn here.
Like, well, we're comfortable.
You know, every year the river gives
you
us,
come trying to go explore. What are you doing?
Explore, like, what are you doing? But then the guy that discovered sugar cane, right, is the guy that's like, hey, you know what? I want to try.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, there's this. It's by Plato. It's called the Allegory of the Cave.
Bro, the fact that you're about to say this, you know how many people have tried to use that allegory of the cave example with? You don't even fucking know it. So the fact you're about to say this is where I already fuck with you, bro. No, please go on.
The allegory of the cave. Yeah. The part of the allegory of the cave, everybody should go check it out. Yeah. The part of the allegory of the cave is that when the guy came back, they made laws. They're like nobody should ever go out.
Again, fuck it.
Nobody. Like we should gag him.
Because this is what's going to be happening. We don't want it.
If he goes and comes back like this person's a mad person. What are you talking about? You saw trees and what? Are you mad? Are you insane? You know. So
you don't know how you've blown. Literally, I'm talking about. I met Oyibo people. Met black people. Fucking know this allegory of the cave. And mind you, when I was learning about it, I thought it was something that they teach in all schools. Come to find out, it's like you always us that were in literature class that we're paying attention to.
It's so powerful.
It's powerful because you can apply it to, and I think that's what helps with reinvention and seeing things that other people don't see, but you're like, wow, what's going on here? Because again, for the allegory of the cave, let me give it to our listeners. Right, that's how it starts. There's a cave, and in this cave, there's only a little bit of sunlight that's coming in. But people are walking outside, so people get to see the shadows working in the cave. So people are in the cave, so they see those shadows, and then they make those shadows. They look at those shadows like they're gods. They make those shadows gods, right? Like it's that type of example. So they make those shadows that they're seeing look like gods
because they've never
been outside. The people in the cave have never been outside the cave. Yeah. So then one day, one of them, Shasha, exploring, manages to get outside the cave. And realizes that those shadows were human beings or people, were not gods, right? And he then goes back to, like, eventually he finds his way back to the cave. And now he's in the cave and he's in a dilemma because these people are worshiping things as gods. They've created all these rules, all these rituals, everything tied towards this idea that the shadows are gods or more than human. And he's now disillusioned because he knows the truth that those are not gods. So obviously he tries to tell them. They say, shut up.
sounds
upset.
crazy to them.
It sounds crazy to them. Like,
They're
what's
like,
wrong with
what
this
are you talking-
person?
this
This one, there's an issue here.
and there's part of it where they say that they say that he's gone mad, and that's what happens when people leave the
Leave
cave.
the cave, exactly.
So genuinely, the
Yeah.
group is like, yo,
Can't
we
leave.
have to
Nobody
protect
can
our
leave it.
kids.
Yeah.
Nobody should leave.
Nobody should leave again.
Do you know what I mean?
Nobody should leave again. It's funny because that analogy or that allegory is something that I've seen play out in multiple industries and multiple sectors, but also even in friendships or groups. And that's why I wanted even family, right? So that way it gets to the point. The question I wanted to ask is, it's almost like you left the cave, and not only in leaving, you've been in rooms, you've been in meetings where you're like, oh, this is where these guys think this is not where it actually is. What then happens? And I guess my question is this: when we were dreaming, or when you were dreaming, sorry, of being successful, or when all of us dream about being successful, at least for myself, so let me know if I'm wrong. You dream about, yo, I'm successful, I'm bringing all my peoples with me. Family, everybody, this shit's about to be lit. My friends, everybody, put on everybody. What happens when you realize that that's not how the movie always goes? Where jealousy is coming, the envy comes in, the resentment, the people who should actually show you more gratitude. How do you deal with that?
This one you touch, he just like poked the beehive.
Oh man.
I think in the entertainment it's even worse, because entertainment, you have fame, and fame makes people around you act.
The drug.
Yes, it makes people act different to you. It makes you act different to people.
Yeah.
I remember that. Let me talk about so the change that happened to me. I remember one day that I was talking to someone and I just had so much rage. You don't want to do what I want you to do. I just so much rage, and I had to check myself. So I left my house. I went to a hotel, and I was there for 4 days. I blacked out
The curtains,
everything. I was just thinking, like, what's going on with you? And I remember that one of the things I came away with was that I hadn't heard anyone say
no in a long time.
Just
No.
no. I would say, hey, I want to wake up. Okay, boss,
let's do this.
Yo, okay, let's do it.
Seafood okra every day.
Done. So I was like, so I changed my life. Like, I walked here today from where
Let's not put it out there before the guy starts, down the street.
I walked from down the street. And I was walking down, I'm still fighting, like, yo, Emma, why are you walking?
Yeah, like if people see you, what's going to happen?
I run every day.
Yeah.
I run, like, so I have like a way that I sort of disguise myself when I run. But I run like into the market sometimes. I run among people. I still have like the vain me being like, yeah, you shouldn't move like this. You shouldn't drive yourself. You should have a posse.
You shouldn't even take a walk.
Like sometimes I'll show up to an event. I'm driving myself. I get out. The next thing, another artist pulls up. Is 10 people around him, and I'm like, man, that's so cool.
Me niggas beat.
I'm telling you, but the reason is because I needed to come back to Jude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I needed to come back to myself.
Yeah.
The rest of it is out of your control. Out of your control. Bro, I've been betrayed, lied to. I've had people like lie about me. I've had people that promise me like, yo, hey, if you take this step, I'm coming with you. I swear to you.
I get your back.
I did for you. I'd step. I'm more. Oh, so yeah, I was just thinking
about that.
Yo, about that.
Yeah,
like, and I, as I said, your questions to me, they're like thought pieces, right? There's no right answer, but I'll say that the answer that I have today, number one, nothing is certain. Whoever you care about can die, they can change, they can abandon you, they can disappoint you. Nothing is certain. And what that means is that as much as you can, you need to steady yourself.
Yeah.
Steady yourself. So, whereas before, if I was in a relationship, I'm depending on that person for something.
Happiness.
Now I'm depending on myself.
Yeah.
hey, you're around, we can share,
Mm-hmm.
we can share that happiness, we
The
can share this
whole,
experience.
yeah,
But guess what? It's on me.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
That's the first thing. Nothing is certain, so depend on yourself. The second thing is after the whole vector thing,
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing I learned, the thing I really learned was
I
that,
knew those bars were hard, bro. Hard bars. Hard
you know, I had to
bars.
listen to that song. I listened to it today.
Hard
That's the first thing.
bars.
As soon as
Yeah.
because I'm recording.
Yeah,
As soon as I
yeah.
set up my system, that's the first thing I listened to.
Hard bars, bro. Hard bars.
But and shout out to VEC, by the way. I was with him yesterday, at a program.
Yeah.
But the thing it taught me was being well intentioned can get you in more trouble if the people that you have good intentions for,
I'm not seeing it that way.
if they like, I meet a young artist and he says, "Hey, I want you to help me." I say, "Okay, I would love to help you. Come to my house." Now he's placed his hope. Oh, just met M.I.
Yeah. Everything is set.
To
Good
me,
go.
I just met a kid.
Yeah.
He's gonna come by the house.
Yeah, yeah.
He comes to the house tomorrow, plays me his song.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't think you're ready yet.
Yeah.
Yo, but M, can you just help me? Can you just? Yeah, I don't think we're.
Yeah.
Now there's negative energy.
Mhm.
I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
There's negative energy.
Yeah.
So that's the thing I learned, that
Resentment that also follows quick.
you can't do everything. Now, for people like us, it's very hard. We want to bring everybody along, right?
Oh.
But what you need to do, what I've learned, is that you need to pick a few things and be done with them.
Yeah.
And as much as you can, keep your word on every
Those
step of the way.
those things, yeah.
See, people, I think people like us, we learn that we aim big
Mm.
and miss big sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So you and I can talk, and I can be like, "Hey, you know what? It would be great if we had an idea about this," and then it never happens, and we'll be talking about the next thing tomorrow.
Yeah.
But for people a lot of people that aren't in that same headspace, that one idea is their one chance.
Is that one chance
And
out?
so when
Yeah.
it doesn't happen, they
Yeah.
really get offended.
Yeah.
And so I'm learning to keep my circle smaller. And
Filter more.
I really
You
felt
filter.
bad because I think that a lot of good came because I was
In
open.
position, yeah.
I was open, right? I like CK now is having a great. I was talking about him earlier, but he wasn't even the fourth or fifth artist
yeah.
on the radar at the time.
Mm.
I just had an open approach. Hey, you know what? It's okay. I have this room. There's one other person. You can stay in the room. We
Yeah.
can figure it out.
Yeah.
Now I won't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I would be like, I want one person,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna hedge my bets.
Yeah.
And so there's some negatives on it, but I think to be smarter, you have to like keep your circle smaller. Invest most of your energy on a few projects, on a few people that have shown that they're solid and that they're worth it.
Yeah.
And protect yourself, man. Protect yourself more than anything else.
There's this framework, my friends Chine and Chuba
Mm.
that they introduced to me that's actually been helpful for the last, I've been using it for the last 8 months. So it's called a design, maybe not design happiness, but design human life framework. And it goes slow down, give gratitude, take responsibility.
Slow down.
Give gratitude, take responsibility. And when I thought about it each, right? Like people like us, fast, very fast.
That one already hits home.
Yeah,
As you said,
slow down.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it's not the first time people have told you to slow down. Definitely not the first time they've told me to slow down. That's been a repeated pattern in my life. And it says give gratitude. It's in order to give that gratitude. You know when you win a Grammy, something, you go up there, I'd like to thank blah, blah, blah. Or if you're in your head, I forget the most important person, and you didn't mean to forget them. That's because you did not slow down. Take responsibility part, though, is the part where you're like, you know what, this is not my fault, but it's my responsibility. Jay gets that. This was clearly not my intention. Actually, maybe somebody else did this, or maybe somebody who was driving for me, or maybe somebody who was working for me did this, but it's
on me.
And now what it does for you is it allows you to have maybe a more expansive heart, but like you said, filter a bit more, do a little bit more research. The reason why I brought that up was
That's really profound, man. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, no, definitely. You know me. I'm always ready for it. No, but how do you? Because there are probably moments when you're like, wow, this person just said this person just did that. How do you stop it from affecting your joy, like your inner joy, where you're like, I'm not going to wake up hating anyone, and this is going to be tying back into the whole vector thing, because with the vector beef, personally, I took it more for the bars situation, and let me explain why. I might be wrong. I don't think, as you've grown and I've listened to the music, that you take things personal. I don't think that that's your approach. I think you can understand the chess moves. You can even understand. Let me even put it this way. I think you're enlightened enough to understand where your enemy is coming from. Does that make sense?
Perfect.
Does that make sense?
Describe me.
Yeah.
100%.
Where you're like, if I were you, I understand why you hate me, and I understand why you did this. Yeah. So that to me, I did not. When listening to the rap, I felt it was more joyful, more like not joyful, but more playful.
Yeah.
Now I might be wrong. But what I mean by that is in that moment, because in Nigeria, your fans can go for that. When you have beef with somebody, you're like, I just meant to go here. Nigerian fans will take it somewhere else. But in that moment, though, and I don't think it was only one track you released, right? You didn't release a follow up.
I was sort of checkmated. I was going into the beef like, I'm ready.
Yeah.
And then when he had spoken and he had started gathering traction, and people were waiting for me.
Yeah.
All my bones were like, don't say a word.
Yeah.
So I knew I had to respond, but I knew I wouldn't. They wouldn't let me respond more than once. And even when the Viper came out, a lot of them were like, what's wrong with you? Why? Yeah. So I had to do it once and let it be. Yeah, but sorry, go ahead.
But I guess my question is, so personally, I didn't know. I know of Vector, but I don't think I'd watched enough interviews to understand his mindsets. Well, when the tracks came out and I listened to both tracks, I was like, there are two people that should be friends.
Yeah.
Like in my head, I was like, these two people should actually be friends. So maybe I don't know what's happened. Maybe they've actually never sat together long enough. Be like, no, I actually fuck with you. Yeah. You know what I mean? So when Crown of Clay came out, I was like, I want to know what changed to get to the point where now you guys can sit and make music together.
Yeah. I mean, so from my perspective, I just talk about Vector. Vector was never an enemy to me.
Yeah.
I was, you said it completely perfectly. In January that year, I was like, this year, me and Vector are going to go at it.
Yeah.
And I think I sort of manipulated things into place for it to happen. And when I got there, all of a sudden, like, because of other things I'm working on with Task, I'd started Task early in the year. And so imagine in January.
By the way, you have to tell people what Task.
Yeah. I'll talk about it. But in January, I'm CEO of Chocolate City Music. I'm completing the music game. And then I leave. I don't know what I'm going to do next. And that's when a lot of the moves that led up to the beef happened. By the time the beef is happening, now raising funding for Task, we're about to get a couple grants. People are like, yo,
what's going on?
This is not the energy we... you know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about?
Read the room, bro.
You know what I mean? Like, what's happening? Like, you're a rapper? Like,
yeah, exactly.
I thought you was... You know what I mean?
What's going on?
You came to us in a suit. Yeah.
You rap, bro?
So, but he was never an enemy. If there was... I may be wrong, but if there was, more hard feelings, I think have been from him towards me during the beef. I was, I was upset about some things. And honestly, even that, I think it allowed, when they said when the grass is cut, the snakes will show. This is Jay-Z bar. I thank my little homie Nas for that. You know what I mean? So,
because they wear kufi, don't mean they're even bright.
Exactly. Some people came out and maybe some of the things that happened then where I was like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I didn't know you felt this way.
Yeah, okay, cool. You know what I mean? And it was interesting. Luce always tells me, at that point, Luce was like in his bag. He's like, I told you. I told you they don't like you.
Yeah.
I told you.
That these particular type of people
don't like you, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I've been telling you.
Yeah.
And it was a good moment because it helped me shape my... But to answer your question directly, like, there have been people like legit that ripped my heart out. And last year, I think what I discovered is I'll give, for people that are out there, if you're sad or whatever, there are two analogies that someone gave me. Number one is like a beach ball and being in a pool. And they said, like, if you say to yourself, I'm going to submerge this beach ball before I walk to the end of the pool, right? How long are you going to be trying to do that? Forever, right? The beach ball's never going to go under. Yeah. And then what happens is that your feelings, you can never get rid of your feelings, but you carry them with you as you go along. And so there's a friend of mine that called me 2 days ago. He's down, he's feeling depressed. And what I was telling him that, man, you need to sit with those feelings and feel those feelings.
Like, sit with them.
You know,
sit with them.
Make out time. Like in the morning, wake up and be like, I need to be sad from 10 to 11.
Yeah.
From 10 to 11, don't do anything.
Just be sad. Be sad. And it's okay. It's okay. I mean? It's okay.
Like women know this better than men do.
Easy.
Like men,
Easy.
we've been taught to hide our feelings.
Suppress.
But a woman will go through a heartbreak and her friends will come over and they'll be like, they'll cry together, they'll eat ice cream together, they'll do all that stuff. Your guys are like, oh, come on.
Come, let's go.
Let's go. So I learned that. And then the second thing is that when you go through those moments, they actually are the best moment for you to learn about yourself and to teach yourself. They're always moments to be reborn. Yeah. So I think a lot of like introspection, looking at yourself. Like I didn't deal with a lot of the trauma from the music industry. And where does this trauma come from? It came from me trying to help people. Trying to put my brother on. Yeah. Then this young kid that had just asked me, please don't leave me behind, called Panchak, who became Ice Prince, trying to put him on. And then I was watching a video one day and I saw this guy singing and doing this weird dance. I was like, who's this kid? I came to find out his name is Brian. You know what I mean? And then Dice and Coker and Millie and Black Bones and CK and, Baffoon, Candy, like all these artists, the ones that made it, the ones that people don't really know, all these people from working with Victoria Kimani who in that moment like came out like with blades like slashing me, you know what I mean? Like that's where that trauma comes from. I didn't deal with it till December last year. And
because you have to forgive. Yes. You have to heal through it and you have to forgive and be like, I get it.
So I just sat with the feeling. Yeah. So during Christmas, people would watch me on IG. I would sit outside. I don't know if any of you guys follow me. You? Okay. I would sit outside on IG. I had like a little swing thing. And I'd just listen to music. And people would come and visit me. Picture of them up. I don't think people thought anything of it. I shut down from like the 9th of December. I just stopped work. Yeah. I just took a month to just sit. And I'll just sit, swing, and if I needed some inspiration, I would inspire myself. You know what I mean? And just sit. And funny thing happened. By January 1st, I wasn't running from the feelings. Yeah. My body was like, you're ready. Let's go. And I ended 2021 with just like energy. And then so much happened. Yeah. Right? So much happened. So many things in my life.
It's almost like your third eye. Your third eye opens now.
Like
it's funny because I was saying the same thing to
whole new bunch of people. Like a whole community opened up to me. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like so many
people that maybe at some point you didn't think it was possible because being the star, you know how people come around you and then they just do, what's that person in X-Men? Mystique. Yeah. Man, I'm just on to Mystique. You're like, what do you want from me? I'll be that person for you. And you're like, nah, just be yourself, bro. So I definitely get it. It's almost like a third eye opens. And it's funny because I wish, and I hope maybe through this podcast, like these type of conversations, I want more men to learn to sit with our feelings. Okay, you won't die. Yeah. Because the first time I had to sit with my feelings was my last relationship with my ex. And I think for 7 years prior to that, I was the guy where break up, club, move, bam, bam, no problem. The last one though, when you're like, you've seen yourself do that movement over and over. So you're like, I can't do this one again. This one I actually have to sit with it. But that was what was also more terrifying because you're like, I can't form hard guy for my guys. Because I ran into my ex at a party in Ghana. After maybe we broke up over like the focus was a long distance relationship. So we never actually got to sit to break up. So I run into her randomly at this party, 1,500 people in Ghana. I run into her. then you know when you just see somebody, you're like, oh yeah, hey, blah, blah, blah. So I go back to our cabana. Then my guys are like, yo, AJ, what's wrong now? Problem? Why are you down? I'm like, yo, I just saw my ex, bro. I just fucking no men. Bro, okay, bro, there are hella bitches around here. What the fuck? What's the problem? Bro, yo, guys, get your Hennessy, get in there, bro. And you know, at that point, when your third eye is not open, I really don't like, they couldn't even stand seeing me sad for 2 minutes. Like, bro, why can't I, even if I want to cry?
But you know, women will be like, let's go home.
Let's go home. Let's
Party
do
over.
something. Let's party over. Let's go.
I got you, girl. Do you know what I mean? Hey, let's put on a movie. Let's watch. Do you know what I mean?
I'm like,
your guys
and
be like,
they can't say, just for fun. Even if it's just small cry, let me cry this. I will go back to party. They're like, and I was like, this is how. It was funny because when you said the story, I'm like, we need to get better about talking about feelings, you know.
Absolutely.
So what I wanted to talk about is relationship with drags. What would you say in terms of music? Obviously there was success on both sides. Yeah. Was there a level of resentment that came? Actually, no. Let me even tie it back to the overall theme we're talking about. When you realize that this success that you prayed for, you guys now have it, but that it's not coming in the same way you thought it would because people start to change, right? Yeah. And there's the entourages, right? You have your entourage, everybody has their entourage. And then people who are in everyone's ear, like, why'd you that table for what? What's the issue? Blah blah. And you start being like, yo, is this really what we're beefing over now? Those little things. In hindsight, because you've seen a lot now, is there anything you could have done to change it? Is it okay? This is what just happens when success comes.
Man, these questions, bro. You ask questions.
Right.
Yo. Okay. So first of all, Jesse was born 3 years old.
Yeah.
He became my partner, like my karate would opponent,
WWE,
you know? And I think he just became better at me. Even from a young age, I just knew that if he saw Jude trying to do something, he would want to do it and he'd try to do it better. I used to dance when I was younger. He became a way better dancer. Drummer when I was younger. My first claim to fame. He became a way better drummer.
Yeah.
And I mean, when I say Jesse's the greatest, Jags is the greatest. Please don't be mistaken. I think I'm the greatest from the continent, right? To ever pick up a mic. Yeah. But then when I say Jesse's the greatest, I know what I mean. I'm like, that guy. One of the things about Jesse that people don't know is that he doesn't listen to music. So as a musician, you have to understand that most of what you see is people copying and pasting, right? It's just regurgitating what we fill ourselves up with. Jesse doesn't listen to music. He's not a fan of music. So he'll go read a book and come back and make an album. And I'm like,
how did you do that?
Like, yo, this guy doesn't listen to music. How does he make music? Yeah. It's a funny thing because as brothers, anytime we've been in that dynamic, we're back to just Jude and Jesse.
Yes, yeah.
It's just me and my younger brother. I mean, and you'll even see it. If you watch him, if you're hanging around Jags, and then I come into the room, depending on where we are, you'll notice how his body language changes. I mean, right now, it's a funny thing, right? Right now, a lot of fans are like, "Where's Jesse?" But he's the happiest and he's the best he's ever been. Yeah. You know, and I came to understand that his happiness, I could see it then, but his happiness was never about fame.
Fame and all that, yeah.
Jesse's the true definition of vibes. And so if he doesn't get vibes in the Lagos system, he doesn't want it. He's not interested. Just take me to Jos, let me sit in my Jos and enjoy my life. You know what I mean? I think Wiz is a lot like that too. You know, a different
dynamic,
different way and expression of that same spirit, right? I just don't want stress. You know what I mean? Okay, people want to do that. Okay, let me sit over here and just enjoy my life. I have been very I'm the leader, or the forceful guy.
Yeah, in general.
So I don't think that we would have gotten where we got to without me being myself. And that would have meant that for me to be that person, that I wouldn't have seen some certain things. Yeah. And it's taking me life.
Yeah, to see.
Experience, to be able to see. I'm sure that he would say the same thing too. But by and large, like when we talk about this, like this is real. Like between you and I know there's a lot of nuance. But I think what happens is that when people outside hear it, they interpret it like, oh, there's a beef or something. There wasn't and has never really been a breakdown in love or trust between Jesse and I.
Yeah.
There was a lot of like when Jesse left Chocolate City, he had a contract. And immediately left. I didn't know he was going to leave, and I didn't want him to leave. I wanted us to build Chuck Boys to be the biggest. But immediately he left. I told the label, like I called out. I was like, "Yo, what we're not gonna do is have any legal conversation with him, because he's my brother. So he's left. Whatever money is owed, consider it bad debt. Let him go. That's my brother. I'm not going to be on the label where we're fighting my brother. You know what I mean? And it's been that energy since. I think in retrospect, when you have the makings of a dynasty for everyone, whether it's been EME, Mo Hits, I think I respect Don Jazzy so much because I look at what
that's the reinvention master right there, bro.
Oh my God. That guy.
Talk about Cat has 9 lives. Don Jazzy, man.
Yo. But even just being able to keep them together.
Yeah.
And then the other person is Davido and DMW. Davido has he has a big crew.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And from what I see, he does from what I've heard. I don't honestly have the insider experience to say so. But he strikes simple deals with his guys. He'll be like, I'll take a split on content and everything else.
Yeah.
Right? And so he simplifies the business.
Process, yeah.
You know what I mean? I bet you that if you were to sit and talk with him, there are things that have happened that he's had to take on the chest. You know what I mean? But that was my dream, that would build a conglomerate. As you grow older, all I care for is that my brother is doing well.
Happy, yeah.
Him and his wife, amazing. Same thing with Ice. You know what I mean? Brimo and I, who I think that's the most fractured relationship, right? I don't think I've spoken to Brimo 5 times since he left Chocolate City. But
what do you think happens in those sort of situations? I mean, you don't necessarily have to get into the weeds, right? Because maybe sometimes from your perspective, you're like, well, what could have happened that I'm the problem? You know what I mean? What is it that we can't even really talk about?
I definitely had my role in it. I definitely had my role. It's back to our conversation is like intertwined.
Yeah.
Back to like accountability, right? I was just young, forceful.
Yeah.
Get in line.
Yeah. Like, yo, let's get this shit done.
Yeah, let's get it done. I think there's just so much change. So many people. There's someone who's a friend of mine.
Yeah.
Who's a friend of mine. Close friend of mine now. But at one point she sent a voice note to someone telling Ice Prince, like, yo, M is jealous of you. Yo, M is really jealous of you. We recreated for a song called Enemies on the Chairman album.
Yeah.
But and because of who the person was to me, like, yo,
it's
this
believable.
is MI's guy.
Yeah.
MI brought this guy to Chocolate City.
Yeah.
And this guy is now saying, MI is jealous of you.
Yeah.
MI is trying to block your success.
Yeah.
So one day I'm in a meeting and Ice is like, I say something, Ice is like, yeah, that makes sense because I know that you know, people are saying, I was like, what? He plays the voice note and I just, what?
And you're even lucky that he brought it to you.
If you know Ice Prince, Ice is one of
you know what I
the
mean?
purest souls.
Because there are people who, and just before you go, that whole thing of, because you're the leader, right? Well, you're not the leader. You're also the person who carries a lot of hits. There are a lot of hits you take that you will never come be like, oh guys, this is what happened today.
Yeah.
Like this, that's part of being the leader, right? What is your thought process, and walk us through your thought process when you're like, wait, so you think that I want bad for you? Like, and you, because thankfully for Ice, he came to you. But I'm pretty sure there are a bunch of people came and you're like, wait, how? Like, even if you think, just sit down. If you sat down to think this through, how?
I hardly cry.
Yeah.
I hardly cry.
Yeah.
But Jesse and Ice Prince will tell you that there's a day that I wept. And in the middle of the conversation, something had come up and someone had said, you just care about yourself and you're just doing all this for yourself. And it stopped me. And I just started crying. I was like, because honestly, in my heart, like I'm not, I made many mistakes, but in my heart, I really, fundamentally, if you ask me why I'm in Lagos and you ask me why I started rapping, why I entered the studio the first time, if you ask me at my core, if you open my heart, if you had a tool to be able to go and check, you're going to see that inside my heart, it was like, I want Jesse to be okay.
Yeah.
Nice Prince to be okay.
Family,
Ruby
friends,
to be okay.
yeah.
That is the reason. You know what I'm saying? I've always thought about myself that I'll be fine.
Last, yeah.
You know
Regardless.
I'll be fine.
Regardless, yeah.
But so when the person said, I'm like, oh, but I'm doing this for you. Like, I'll say on your podcast, in all the years, I as M.I, I'm not talking about the institution, I've never made a naira on anyone. Never. I would meet the artists, A&R them, get them to a point. Never gotten a naira. I had a bit of the Brimo deal, but I never matured into anything. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud to be able to say, I think I got paid for 2 collaborations last year. You know what I mean? Without asking for to be paid for it. I mean, maybe someone in my team asked at some point, but I try not to ever ask an artist. If I want to do the song, I'll do it. If I don't want to do it, I don't do it. You know what I mean? So I'm proud of those things, just on my own, for myself, like for my own integrity.
Yeah.
So that really hit home. But I mean, life is about this like ugly, beautiful journey. This like painful, joyful journey of like being hurt and being.
It's funny because the quote I was looking for was, I think it was a quote I saw on Twitter. I know sometimes you just you're like, damn, if they sabi. And it said, one day somebody that you sacrificed a lot for, turn around and say they never asked you to, and they'll be right. And I think one of those quotes is just one of those quotes.
Well done to
I mean,
steady.
You're like, look at this person. What's going on? But I think we're getting almost an hour in the conversation, right? So I think we can even low-key start to round up. But bro, I already said and talk for hours. We talk for hours. But I wanted to touch on what we were talking about before the camera started rolling. The idea of an artist as an entity, right? As a LLC, as an LLP. What are your thoughts on that? Because for someone like me who operates in the spaces between tech and entertainment, I'm always looking around for the synergies, right? And I noticed that, actually, I know the question I want to ask. The general you, the person like gets in line, is almost like, yo, this is the goal. What we need to do is do this, go there. When you're dealing with human beings, realize that human beings are not robots. When you're also dealing with creatives, there are human beings and then there are creatives. Creatives can wake up today, sun not shining too well. Oh yeah, I'm not going to the studio.
They do.
I'm
in the studio right now, bro. I just sat down, listened to the song over and over. Then I went on my phone. Your creative process is something different.
Your creative process is something different. And I think as a CEO and leader, knowing what your product is, you cannot rush that process, right? What would you then say to the idea that some people do believe that being creative should not be mixed with business because it messes up the creativity? What are your thoughts on that?
So let's look at the successful models, right? Where, like, I was in Toronto recently, and I was at the OVO store, and
Drake's OVO.
Yeah, just such a power statement to me. Such a power statement, and from early on, they were like, Oliver, you handle this.
40, you handle this.
Handle this. Drake, you're going to be the brand. I think there's another guy, I forget his name, but he handles something else. And you look at LeBron James, Rich Paul,
Marv Carter.
All that. You handle this, you're going to do this, we're going to build together. That is the dream.
You're not even stopped. They said, Jay.
Oh, walk into Jay's, I mean, that's
Emery.
Tata, like, to me, that is the thing that we're all trying to
replicate,
all aspiring towards, right? where you can create industry around. If you have a generational talent, people can come around and be like, let's make you a business and a brand.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's really tough because people don't have capacity. Then you start playing the dance where if an Eche shows up and it's like, hey, the people that are already in the team start to form resentment. My first manager shut down on the way, and the only way I could describe it.
You say shut down, what do you mean?
Just, we had capacity issues. We needed more. I brought someone else on, and stopped. Like, he just stopped. Just be at a meeting and just be frustrated, and you know what I mean. And one day, just like, I'm not working with you anymore. And the only way I could just describe it was like, maybe some insecurity that was triggered. You know what I mean? Which I want to be empathetic towards, but we've never sat down to have that conversation to really understand. And then other people are coming in. I remember there's a guy that wanted to sign me that would just talk greasy to me about Audu all the time. How much money does Audu have? You know what I mean? How much Audu? He wanted me to do a show in, he's my mom, he's hearing this, but he wanted me to do a show in SA, but they were paying me like $500. So I was like, I'm not going to go do a show in $500. Like, so I refused to go on the tour. And I happened to be in South Africa. He was there, and he just met me somewhere. He's talking greasy to me. What car does Audu drive? What car do you drive? I buy ranges for my artists. I'm telling you to come for a tour. You're speaking English to me. Do you know who I am? Do you know about, like, there are all sorts of people that just show up, and like characters that show up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think that when someone is talented and has, you know what I mean, you have to understand that where DMX ended up and where Jay-Z ended up would be more about their ecosystem
than themselves.
What they had about than even themselves. Jay-Z would tell you that his mom bought him his first music player and that she would sit and encourage him to rap. DMX would tell you that my uncle gave me crack when I was 14. I was never given the chance of being able to I wasn't given the chance of being a child with a father. My only talent is being able to survive when it gets harder. My balance in the high beams of life, keep my dreams afloat. That's DMX. So DMX dies at 50, struggling from a drug overdose. Talented.
Yeah. No one can question the talent.
Jay-Z is a billionaire at 50. Married to another billionaire. Conquering the world. But guess what? It's conditions that none of them. Jay-Z would tell you as a child, he went to school. He went to the same school with Busta Rhymes and with Busta, Jay-Z, and
was Biggie there?
Biggie. Yeah, Biggie, Jay-Z, and Busta Rhymes were in the same school. And DMX is abandoned. Locked up.
Best friend is a dog.
You know what I'm saying? Best friend is a dog.
It's really a dog.
Locked up in his grandma had bipolar.
Manic,
So one time she had a manic episode. She locked him up in the room for summer. She would feed him under the door.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we see it today, but those seeds were planted.
Young age. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I have a lot of empathy when I see artists. You know what I mean? I try to meet an artist's parents before I sign them. Try to pay attention to where they are because you never know.
You never know.
You know what I mean? And then you also have to be, when you ask the question about heartbreak and pain and stuff like that, you can only be responsible for yourself. Some people you're going to, it's tragic. Some people you're going to show up for their burial and be like, damn. You know what I mean? Some people you're going to be like,
they lived a great life.
I've met artists.
Yeah.
I've met artists that are poverty line now. At the same time, I met an artist like that when he was 16 years old. Give me an opportunity. My first real long conversation with Wiz was saying, yo, can I have an opportunity? So there's some people that I've met that I look up to now. Because I look, damn.
Yeah.
There's some that I look down on.
Damn.
Right? That's the way life goes.
Yeah. So as we wrap this up, can you, I wanted to talk about, one of the last questions I have is the new journey, because we talked about leaving Chalk City.
Absolutely.
this new journey, can you tell the people about what Task is, what Task does?
So when I was in the music business, I would always walk into rooms like, oh, we want you to help us promote this thing. So hold the product and smile. And I was like, that's not going to work.
Yeah, that's not organic.
It's not organic. It's not how the culture works. Yeah. And so when I left, I was thinking about what to do. I was like, at the core of every business is marketing. Yeah. Right?
Advertising, all that.
So I even go deeper. I'll use you as an example. So I'm sitting in my room one day and somebody that I really care about, someone that's very part of my team calls me. It's like, I want you to meet a person called Eche. Next day, you call me. Hey, I want us to meet. So and so. We set up a meeting. Yeah. And we met. And all that is marketing. Yeah. All that is marketing. Yeah. It's not an ad, but it's marketing. Yeah. And what we want to do with Task is across different sectors. We work with CSOs. They do the most important work sometimes that this country has. They're really moving. Like the real true agenda that government is supposed to be pushing forward, CSOs that are pushing that agenda forward. We help them amplify what they're doing. We work with talent, you know what I mean? Help them amplify what they're doing. Communities, we have talent agency. We work with corporate companies to help them amplify what they're doing. And at the core, again, it's about saying, like, if you have an idea that can change the world, we're working with an organization that sells detergent. And their new product, I won't talk about them now, but their new product, they are worried about what it does to your skin when you put your hands in it. And that's actually something you never think about. But if you put your hand in detergent and put it out, it changes the color of your skin. It can dry your skin up a little bit, whatever. And so it's a small thing, but for people that are spending time washing or whatever, that's a big thing, right?
Because especially when there's no washing machines around the country.
Yeah. You can take care of people's skin as they wash and whatever. Like when I wash, I remember that all those things in your hand. And, you know what I mean? So it's a great idea, and our job is how do we get people to know that this is amazing? By shooting an ad, or is it by
discussion, talk show, something? Yeah.
What is the way? So that's what Task does. Yeah. But the bulk of our work that we do right now is to connect organizations that are trying to make Nigeria a better place, connect them to influencers that have a platform. Okay. So even now, as we're talking, I was like, I need to bring you on one or two conversations, especially like helping artists, like doing some programming around helping artists think about themselves as a brand, as a business, A lot of young artists would be, you see Gary Vee do it, right? He walks around with people and he breaks it down for people. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. I know that the federal government and the state governments are going to continuously go after people for taxes and stuff like that. But people don't know what to do when it comes to taxes. You know what I mean? They don't know about the tax law in Nigeria and stuff like that. So can we get some accountants in the room, help people, stuff like that. These are the sort of things we want to do with Task. And you can check us out. Our website is www.
Don't worry, we can put this in the program notes too. Don't worry. We got you. We got you.
It's www.nddc.
Okay.
Yeah. I watched that clip again. It's actually funnier. It's actually funnier than you remember.
No, but it also shows you the state of this country, man. No, but Jude, man, thanks again for coming through. This is the first episode. Afropolitan Podcast, and I was like, I need to talk to Jude because I think it's even selfishly more for me because when you get comfortable with your first guest, you're like, okay, cool, this is the standard we want it to be. If you cannot talk like this, not going to work. But bro, thanks, man. Appreciate you guys.